Hey everyone, it's Ron and Ellie back for this week's Ask Ron. First up this week are two questions from Cecilia Lance in California.
Hi, Cecilia.
Her first question asks, I know we cannot use people we know as a third-party administrator for our Roth IRA, so who's the best person to do that?
Well, that's not true. You can use a third-party administrator that you know. They just have to be licensed by the IRS. There's a ton of them out there, Cecilia. We use Quest, Q-U-E-S-T. There's Equity Trust, and you have a whole slew of them in California. They're not very hard to find. Why don't you just go to questira.com? I think that's it. That should get you to it. But honestly, I don't care who you use. It's just that you get one set up. Any third-party administrator is qualified to administer your account. Make sure it's self-directed. Make sure it's a Roth. And make sure it is not at some bank or something to where you don't control the money freely. If you use one of the third-party administrators that I just named, like Equity Trust or Quest, both of those will allow you to do what you want to do with your money and make no recommendations for you what to invest in at all.
Okay, her second question asks, in regards to Dodd-Frank, can rent credits or down payment assistance programs be regarded as giving equity away and nullifying the deal from exemption?
No. First of all, you're exempt if you don't do 3 deals in one entity in a year, so that question is moot as long as you stay exempt. But when you're doing a lease purchase, they're not part of Dodd-Frank. And when you're doing seller financing, down payment assistance means they're paying part of their down payment in. You're not giving them monthly equity as part of their payment. So the answer is no. Quit worrying about the Dodd-Frank. It's not going to apply to what you just described.
Okay, next up is Michael Alion from Massachusetts.
Michael?
He says, Ron, I'm having some trouble answering a seller objection. It's a little bit of a thinker brain. He says, what do I say if they say, so when you get a buyer and collect a deposit, what do I get? Where's the last month's rent and security deposit? You get all the benefits and disappear while I get all the risk with someone who now has an option on my property.
Well, that means you probably didn't do a very good job of explaining it. But if somebody comes back with me with that, I'm going to ask them, well, then what do you need to make you feel secure in this transaction, and then deal with it. I clearly explained to them, if I'm not going to close on it myself, I clearly explained to them that my compensation comes from the difference between what I can collect and I got to pay you. So obviously I'm going to want you to take as little as possible and then get that number. Because the truth is, until you go out and find that buyer, it's irrelevant anyway. So I always tell the sellers, look, we're probably going to have to change this deal. I don't know. Let me go find the buyer, and then if I need to, we'll come back and we'll renegotiate it at that time. Always, when somebody comes back at you with a question you can't answer, always go back to them. Well, then, how do you see? What's the answer you'd like? Put the onus back on them.
Okay, last up this week are two questions from Derek Claiborne in Maryland.
Hey, Derek.
He says, first question is, when calling back a potential buyer with a chunk of money, how do you handle the call when you currently have nothing to sell?
You tell them that you don't have any. Oh, you mean buyers? Okay, buyers who are going to be buying on terms. You tell them, well, let me get you on my VIP buyers list, and I'll call you as soon as I get you something to look at. What else can you tell them? You don't have anything to sell them.
Okay, his second question says, with the housing market going up and down, when should we get an appraisal to verify our values?
Well, first of all, the housing market has been going up and down for about 2 centuries now, give or take. In fact, probably even longer than that. And I don't ever get an appraisal. If I'm buying, let me rephrase that. Every once in a while I do. If I'm paying cash for a house, then I will get it appraised in its after repair condition just to make sure that I am pretty close if there's any doubt at all. I don't ever get an appraisal in the pretty house business at all. Let me rephrase that. I actually have had cases where the value of the house was so unknown by the seller and me that I tell the seller, well, let me get an agreement from you, and then we'll order an appraisal. And if that appraisal comes back low, we'll revisit it. And I'll pay for the appraisal. I just want to know that the value is there that you are suggesting is there. So every once in a while I'll order one just to verify that value. But it's rare that I ever order one. And when I'm selling it to a qualified buyer, you can't order it anyway. Your lender has to order it. So appraisals play a very, very small role in my entire business, actually.
Okay, everyone, that's all the questions we have for you this week.
All right. I hope I had the answers. All right. See you guys next week. Go get some deals done.